Hi, I'm Sherry from A Quilting Life, and today I'm here to share a short little video to help you learn how to make quarter square triangles so that they're perfectly sized every time. Quarter square triangles are one of the most versatile quilt blocks, and they're a block that I love to use in my patterns. And so occasionally I get questions in emails, and I thought it would be a great idea to just give you a visual demonstration on how to make this block work. To make a quarter square triangle, you're going to first start by making half square triangles. So we're going to take these two strips of fabric, we're going to put them right sides together, and I like to use a ruler that's exactly ½ inch wide to draw my lines. This is an Omnigrid ruler, and there are other brands on the market, but there's a diagonal line down the center that I can line up with both corners. And then I'm going to use a pencil to draw on either side of the ruler. That gives me two drawn lines that I can then stitch on. After I've stitched on the lines, I'm going to cut in half. Now this will give me two half square triangles. Before we go any further, we're going to press both of these to the darker fabric. So I'll go press those and I'll be right back. Okay, now that we have our two half square triangles and they're both pressed to the dark side, we're going to line them up right sides together again to make a quarter square triangle. This time we're going to nest those seams, and since they both go to the dark side, they should press up right next to each other. You can open it to make sure that you're going to get the layout that you want. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to use the same ruler, the same pencil, draw the lines. And again, we're going to go sew on each of these lines. Now, you don't want to sew right on top of the line. You want to sew just a 1/16 of an inch, maybe just a thread's width inside of the line. Don't sew into these outer sections. If you're going to err in here, and that will give you more room to trim up your block and make it the right size. Okay, so I've got one already sewn. Right here I've sewn just inside of both of those lines, and then we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to cut it in half on the diagonal. And now we have two quarter square triangles. Okay, but we're not quite done yet. There's a couple more tricks that I want to show you. Okay, this next step isn't required, but it's a step that really does make a difference. Get your seam ripper. I love this Clover seam ripper. And you want to pick out, there should just be 2 to 3 stitches at the most in between the seam allowance and the edge, and the cut edge. And you do that on both sides, and I'll show you why in just a second. And again, there's just 1 or 2 stitches there on each side that you want to unpick. Then when you get ready to press, you'll be able to kind of flip those so that it will lay super flat in the middle. I've got one that I've already done, and you can see it will make a little square, and the block lays very flat. Okay, now these blocks, the next thing we want to do is we want to trim them up to the size that we need for whatever pattern you're going to make. And there's a little formula so that you know what size to start out with. You look at your pattern and find out what the unfinished size of your quarter square triangle needs to be, and you add 1 inch to that measurement for your original squares. So add 1 inch to that measurement, and that'll make it to where this is sized up enough just so that you can trim it. And next I'll show you how to trim it. Okay, the last step is to trim up these quarter square triangles so they are just the size you need. I'm going to show you how to do it with 2 different rulers. One is kind of a specialty ruler that I like, but I'm also going to show you how to use any other ruler so that you can do it with whatever you have on hand. The first one I'm going to demonstrate with is the fit to be quarter ruler, and it has markings every 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to trim these little squares up to measure 2 inches, and what we're going to do is take the diagonal line and line it up with our diagonal seam, and we're going to take half the measurement that we're going to be trimming it to, so 1 inch, make sure that's right on the center. And we're going to trim these first 2 sides, and then flip the block and do the same thing. And now at this point you'll be able to see that the edge of the block is on the 2-inch line, the 1-inch line is right down the middle, and the diagonal is lined up. So this is going to be a very even square block. And I'll just go ahead and trim up this other one so you can watch one more time. Line up the diagonal with your diagonal seam. Make sure the 1-inch line is down the middle. Trim the first 2 sides. Flip your block. Line it up again. And trim the remaining sides. Okay, now you don't have to have this specialty ruler, even though I really like it. But you do need any kind of square ruler that has a diagonal line. So this one doesn't have the same amount of lines as this one, but it'll work. So I just want to show you. And you do the same thing, you get that diagonal line on your seam, and you take the vertical 1-inch line, make sure it's in the center, and then the technique is absolutely the same. The other one's a tiny bit more accurate, but this ruler will do the trick as well. And I'll just trim this one up. When I write my patterns, I will usually have written into the instructions so that you're making these blocks bigger, and then you are trimming them down to just the correct size. I forgot to trim one of my sides here. Okay, so we've got perfect little 1/4 square triangles, and they're trimmed to just the right size. Okay, I hope that quick little 1/4 square triangle tutorial will help you out when you're making those blocks. I'll be back soon with some more instructional videos. And in the meantime, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel for all of the other videos that I have up there. Thanks so much.